You're coaching them up. Hold on, let me run this back because this is good. This is good stuff right
possibly witness interviews.
Handwritten notes by whom?
Well, you labeled it Proctor. I don't know who it is based on the individuals interviewed. Might suggest that these are Michael Proctor's notes.
Okay, so you're testifying that I labeled that Proctor?
I don't know.
Right, so you don't know.
Well,
So
you provided a document to me, so.
Right, I know. And then you just testified that I labeled that Proctor. How do you know I labeled that Proctor?
Come
Well,
on,
I got it from you.
You didn't see me write that note.
Objection.
Sustained.
Jeez.
Question,
This.
please.
Come on, Yuri.
That appears to be a series of Michael Proctor's notes, correct?
That's what's suggested, yes.
Okay. Can you turn to the first tab? There's a purple tab.
Some of these came off.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm just interested in the purple tab. Do you see a series of handwritten notes that appear to be from Michael Proctor?
Come on, Yuri.
Sure. If these,
Highlight?
yes.
What's the word that's handwritten in that highlight?
Objection.
So why don't we come to sidebar with this stuff, please?
We've got our first sidebar, guys. Wow. Wow. I knew Yuri was going to get cooked today. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. This is embarrassing. So he doesn't know who he handed the evidence bag to. He didn't fill out the evidence bag all the way. Not only did he not fill it out all the way, he didn't fill it out at all. But he also believes, as he said yesterday and testified yesterday, that the integrity of this investigation remained there. Okay.
Stop the cap.
Let's skip through this sidebar and see what he has to say about this. Yikes. This is a man's life that was lost and a woman's life at stake. And this is how things are handled.
In the ordinary course of business, is it normal standard operating procedure that the person who recovers items of evidence fills out the evidence bag contemporaneous to the recovery of the item?
Yep. It's a simple question.
It's possible you can do that if there's a reason that you have to leave, an emergency or weather conditions you can't write on the bag. You can fill it out later if you have the time and you know where you recovered it from, which is like, you know, in this instance, if it was a general vicinity where all the other fragments of evidence was collected from, it's known that it was within the general area of that section of the lawn near the flagpole between the street and the flagpole and the fire hydrant.
So we're just spitballing this. See, this is the problem I have with these witnesses. So you're expecting that you have all these memory lapses now. You don't know who you handed the freaking bag to. But at the time of the investigation, everything took place. You can remember exactly where you found a tiny piece of clear plastic. That's what you want us to believe, Yuri. Is this making you look credible? No. Either you remember, you don't remember. You can remember where it was. You're going to bag it later because it's raining, it's snowing. You don't know who you handed it to, but I remember exactly where this little piece of plastic was. Dude,
Stop the cap.
come on, man.
It's
The person that filled out that evidence envelope wasn't with you.
well, I passed that information along to them.
I see. So now it's hearsay information
Nice.
being passed along to someone else to fill out the envelope.
Objection.
Sustained.
It's secondhand. It's
You're right, Don.
Secondhand information to the person that's filling out the evidence envelope, correct?
No, it's firsthand information. I passed it along to them.
So it went from you to a person filling out the envelope who wasn't there. Let's leave it at
It was the kid riding the bike down the street.
I was
We
by
know who it was.
myself, so yes, I told the individual what time, what location, the case number, the date, obviously.
How do you know? How do you know that you told the individual to whom you passed this along the time, the location, the date? How do you know that as you sit here?
Because I
Because
remember.
that information was then put on the bag and documented.
But you can't even remember who you talked to.
Exactly.
I do not remember specifically who I talked to, no.
If you can't remember who you talked to, you don't remember what you said. Goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Not
That's
necessarily.
not true. I might not remember now, but the day that it was bagged
gosh.
on February 10th, 2022, I remembered. And that's why the accurate, detailed information is on the bag.
I don't remember now, but I
That
remember
you didn't
then.
fill out, correct?
That's correct.
And information provided to someone you can't remember.
Today, I can't remember, no.
Wow. Wow.
You're aware that that particular bag, that evidence bag, was
This is embarrassing.
not
It's a supervisor.
booked until March 14th, 2022, correct?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh, you gonna
Those
understand.
pieces of evidence were never booked into evidence until March 14th, 2022.
Those particular pieces of evidence were collected on February 10th, 2022.
Sergeant Bukhenik, do you know the difference between collecting a piece of evidence and booking it into evidence, creating a booking label,
What?
creating an evidence log, things of that nature? Do you know the difference?
I understand the difference, yes,
Okay.
but you claiming that it wasn't booked into something doesn't mean that it wasn't properly handled in custody and under our control.
Sir, I'm
It
not
wasn't
claiming
booked until
anything. You're
over a
testifying.
month
I'm asking
later.
questions. Was it booked into evidence on February 10th?
If you show me a document, I can tell you what
Sure.
it might be suggesting.
By the way, the evidence.
What? I hope this isn't true.
They have the,
I don't know why AJ would bring it up.
I'm sorry, which one?
the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let me have just a moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
Now he's not gonna be disciplined, y'all. He lost his 5 vacation days. He's already been through enough. Okay, leave him alone. And then he has to go through this, get barbecued in 4K in front of the entire world. Let him live. Oh my God.
Can we move on and come back to this, Mr. Jackson?
I think I've just gotten the documents that
Okay.
the sergeant needs. There are two documents here.
Did you show Mr. Brennan?
I'm sorry.
This is crazy.
You can take a look at those two documents and tell me whether or not you recognize them.
Take your time, Yuri. We slow cooking you right now. Uh-oh. Judge Cannoni's got that look on her face.
Okay. I'm going to leave those up there with you. Does one of those appear to be the log sheet for the crime lab?
One is a chain of custody report for the crime lab of all the evidence that was processed, received, processed, and returned. Yes.
And the other document?
The other document is simply a receipt of evidence being submitted on a certain day to the lab.
And both of those documents indicate that the first time the evidence was submitted to the crime lab was March 14th, 2022, correct?
Objection.
Overruled.
I'm going to allow that.
I will have to take a look. It's going to be some time, please.
Nope.
Well,
It
you can
shouldn't
look
take
at the
that long.
top. Well, let
We'll
me
tell
ask
you where it is.
Ask it in question form. If you look through the log, it's in chronological order, the chain of custody log, correct?
By item, I believe, but I didn't take a deep dive into it. I have to take a look.
Right. Do you see any item, especially focusing on item 712 or items 712? Do you see any item being booked into the crime lab before March 14th, 2022?
All right, I'll take a look.
Sure.
Take your time, Yuri. Oh boy. Yeah, that's not an objection. I don't even know what his objection would be there. Sit back and enjoy the ride, Brennan, because this is not the witness. This ain't it right here. Jeez.
Did
Answer,
that,
no.
Refresh your recollection as to when the items were booked at the crime lab?
According to this document, yes, there were items booked at the crime lab prior to March 14th. In
What-
particular, to answer your question, completeness here, particular, that one item does indicate that the first time the lab received it for processing was March 14th.
So they were booked at the lab March 14th, correct?
The first time the lab received these items for processing, according to this document, is March 14th.
And there's no indication on any document as to where those items were before March 14th.
There is. We displayed the bag, me collecting them on February 10th, and they were in our possession at the Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
Whose possession?
The Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
Your possession? Specifically?
At one point, they were in my possession, then I turned it over.
Right. After you
This chain of custody is garbage. So he took him, he tossed him in the back of his car, or Michael Proctor did, who knows, drove around with him for a while. Then they took it over to the DA's office and said, hey guys, here's the evidence from this police officer that's, according to our assumptions, according to our theory, was hit with the glass. Let's hold on to this and maybe we'll send it over to the lab to be processed a month later.
turned it over on February 10th, it was the date that you claimed claim to have found these items after February 10th. They were not in your possession anymore, were they?
No, once I turned them over, they're not in my possession.
When
No.
you say turn them over, you're talking about turning them over to someone whom we don't know, correct? As we sit here.
Right now, I don't have a memory of who I turned it over to, but it
course
was
you
a
don't.
member of our homicide team.
So the next time, Sergeant Bukhenik, the next time there's any documentation about those items is March 14th, nearly 6 weeks later, 5 weeks later, correct?
I don't know that to be correct, no.
But you can't point to any documentation. You're looking at the logs. You can't point to any documentation indicating the chain of custody of these items between February 10th and March 14th. Is that right?
This is simply a log from the lab.
Yes or no? Can you point to any documentation?
Ask the question.
Can you point to any documentation
Between
indicating where those
February 10th.
items went, whose possession they were in what circumstance, between February 10th and March 14th? Can you point to any document?
I know that it was collected on February 10th.
Right.
It's documented that it was
Answer
collected.
the
It was at the
question.
Norfolk District Attorney's office
Honor.
before it was logged into the lab for processing.
You keep answering the same question that I'm not asking, sir.
Objection.
Sustained. No comments.
Your Honor, please instruct
Sergeant Bukhenik, do
the,
you understand my question? I'm asking,
the witness to answer
can
the
you point
question.
to a single document for these jurors as to where those items went and in whose possession they remained, specifically between February 10th, when you lost sight of them, and March 14th, when the crime lab received them?
Objection.
Sustained.
May I approach?
Yes.
Why?
No,
I'm
just
sorry,
him.
I'm sorry. Mr.
Just for
Brennan.
the evidence.
Just for the evidence. False start.
Why was that sustained? That was an excellent question. Can you point to any documents between February 10th and March 14th?
As the supervisor, you're generally aware of the evidence in this case, correct?
It depends, but very generally on most cases, yes.
As a matter of fact, as the supervisor, one of your duties would be to make sure that evidence is collected and processed appropriately and properly, correct?
That is the standard, yes.
You're also aware that all of the physical evidence that was booked eventually at the crime lab on March 14th, 2022, was done so by Michael Proctor, correct?
I'm not sure exactly who delivered it or who booked it in, but if you have a document, I will reflect on it.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Take a look at that and tell me if that refreshes your recollection.
Yes, it does.
May I approach?
Yes.
Jeez.
What is this document you just looked at?
It's the receipt of evidence submission to the crime lab.
And who submitted, based on that document, who submitted all of that evidence to the crime lab?
Michael Proctor.
You're also aware that Michael Proctor eventually submitted a total of some 46 or so pieces of taillight material that was claimed to have been recovered at 34 Fairview on since January 29th, 2022, correct?
I don't know the total pieces, but we didn't claim to recover it there. We recovered it there.
You're testifying that they were recovered, but you didn't recover all of them, did you?
I did not recover all of them, no.
Matter of fact, Michael Proctor, according to you, recovered some of those items, correct?
Some of those items were recovered by Michael Proctor, yes.
And you're also aware that he submitted pieces of taillight material that he indicated he recovered as late as February 18th, 2022, correct?
I am aware that there was items recovered on February 18th. I am not sure exactly if it was him or someone else that recovered it.
You indicated, I think in direct examination yesterday, that as of February 3rd or February 4th, the weather had broken, generally, correct? It was getting warmer.
Yes, the weather was warmer. There were rainy days following the 3rd, I believe. No, the 4th. The 4th, it was raining when I picked up that piece of evidence. So, yeah, the weather had warmed up.
So it was raining and somewhat storming on the 4th?
There was precipitation when I recovered that item. I mean, I don't know if it was storming, if there was a low pressure cell coming through. I have no idea.
Okay, but that's the same day that you were told that Chief Berkowitz was driving by and saw the breakfast.
The day I picked up the single piece with Can PD present, it was raining.
So he would have been driving by, windows up, water on the windows, in the rain, and saw the red piece? Gotcha.
Sustained.
You indicated that on February 10th,
Speculation.
when you did your final visit, made your final visit to 34 Fairview, you indicated yesterday during testimony there was quote unquote very little snow still present, correct?
That's correct.